At 7:32, we want to take you back to that breaking news that we're staying on top of. Right now, a man is dead after being struck by a train in southwest Atlanta overnight. And police are saying that that victim may never have heard the train coming.
The First Alert breaking news tracker is outside of Atlanta Police Headquarters downtown. Our Don Shipman is there. Don, you're learning some new information about this accident.
Yeah, that new information is coming from the company that owns that freight train. They're telling us that no one on the train was injured. Atlanta police, they're telling us that the person that was hit and killed likely didn't even hear it, and this was likely an accident. This is where it happened on Murphy Avenue in southwest Atlanta. It's actually not too far from the fire station and from a MARTA station in that area. This is what it looked like at the height of the investigation. You can see those investigators on the scene. It happened here, not at a railroad crossing, but instead along this stretch of track in a mostly commercial and industrial neighborhood there in southwest Atlanta. Atlanta police say the preliminary investigation suggesting that this was an accident. Investigators believe that the victim, whose identity is not being released as of yet, may have been sitting or actually standing on the tracks when the Norfolk Southern train approached. Police say that one of the factors that they're looking into is whether that victim even heard the train coming. Officers on the scene noted that these trains can be surprisingly quiet when they're not sounding their horn. Now again, the victim's name, identity not being released until they notify family about all of this. The investigation continues. That train sat on the track for a number of hours. At last check, right around 4:30 this morning, it was still sitting there. This happened just after midnight. We're live outside the Atlanta Police Headquarters downtown. Don Shipman, Atlanta News First.